Hello, I'm Dr. Clint Sexton, and today in this video I'd like to talk about the thyroid hormone called T3. And what we want to cover here today is where T3 comes from, what does it do in the body, why is it important, how is it different than T4, and another test we know about called TSH. So let's walk through this and see if we can get a better understanding of the T3 and how that relates to your thyroid tests. So we're going to start from the top down. Let's talk about what's going to give us this T3. So we're going to start up at the pituitary gland, and that's up in your head, and that makes a hormone called TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. So the TSH from the pituitary goes through your bloodstream, gets to the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland makes the hormone called T4. All right. So then after we have T4, that gets turned into T3. And T3 is the active form of your thyroid hormone. The T4 is not. That's a prohormone, meaning the thyroid's making mostly T4. That T4 is going to go out into your system where it has to get turned into T3. Now that conversion of T4 to T3 occurs with certain enzymes. We call them deiodinase enzymes. And basically what that means is your T4 has 4 atoms of iodine, and we're going to pluck one of those off, so we have 3. So that's how you go from T4 to T3. But it has to be in that T3 state for it to be biologically active and react with your cells. This is actually a really good buffering system for the body. We wouldn't want a whole flood of biologically active thyroid hormone flooding through the system all the time. So your T4 acts like a reserve or a buffer. Thyroid's making a lot of T4. We have a lot of that, hopefully, a lot of that available. And as needed by cells, these enzymes will turn your T4 into T3, and that T3 can now interact with your cells and do what it should do. Okay, so you're working from the top down of hormones that get tested. You have your TSH from the pituitary gland, the TSH from here, okay, goes to here to the thyroid gland. We make T4. The T4 will go out into our body to various cells, and through the action of a particular enzyme called deiodinase enzymes, there's different types of those, but we'll just stick with that, we turn it from T4 into T3 so that it's active. Now we can go a little bit further with this, all right? And that is another test called free T3. So you have T3 and you have free T3. So for a hormone to be biologically active, it needs to be free, meaning we can't have a particular type of protein stuck to it, okay? So if there's a protein stuck to the hormone, okay, it's not going to be biologically active. That protein has to come off so it can interact with your cells. And so in many panels, both don't get evaluated, the T3 and the free T3. I like to see both because with T3, it's not distinguishing between how much of it's free or not free. It's just all T3, which is good to know. That goes, okay, how much do we have to work with? Because let's say you have sufficient levels of T3, but there's not much of it that's free, then that's another problem we start looking at that's not really related to the thyroid. So as we look at this is why you have to do enough testing on enough hormones and see what state they're in, free or not free, so you can get a good idea of how much biologically active hormone do we have. And your most biologically active thyroid hormone is free T3. If we had to kind of break it down, we would start with, T4 coming from the thyroid gland, okay? Then free T4, okay, so that can interact and be turned, more actively into T3. We have T3, but then ultimately we have free T3, and that's the one that's really interacting with your cells and doing all the things you want thyroid hormone to do. So hopefully this gives you a little more insight in just kind of the relationship between how this goes down through the system. TSH goes to T4, T4 has to get turned into T3. And so sometimes there's imbalances with these, and sometimes they're, related to the thyroid, and sometimes they're not related to the thyroid, meaning it's not a thyroid problem. Maybe we have other hormonal imbalances of estrogen and testosterone or things like this, or maybe we have too much inflammation in the body or other immune system type of reactions occurring. These can disrupt the balance of these hormones. So you need to look at them. You need to see the big picture. You need to see what's being produced, what state it's in, so you can identify the breakdown in the chain. Okay, so hopefully this gives you a little greater understanding of what T3 is and why it's important and where it comes from.